as we begin this session. The session is entitled Responsible Land Administration Teaching Essentials, Structured Knowledge Base. We've called it ReLATE because actually our main objective here is to relate to the rest of the community, the surveying community, concerning the Responsible Land Administration Teaching Essentials. My name is Uchendu Eugene Chibu. I'm the co-chair of the Research and Training Cluster of the Global Land 2 Network, GLTN. I am an associate professor in land administration with the Department of Land and Property Sciences at the Namibia University of Science and Technology. I will be your chair for this session for the next 90 minutes. My rapporteur in this session is Siraj Said, who is also my co-chair in the GLTN cluster and who will introduce himself later on as one of the panelists. The format of this session will be very straightforward. It will be a session of interactions between the chat buttons and share whatever information they would like to share. So we would have to begin the session with me, the chair, presenting an opening statement and then introducing the panelists. Afterwards, we would go into a journey of how the ReLATE was conceptualized, how it was conceived, and how it was produced. And then we'll move into the launching of the ReLATE document, and then a presentation will be given to us on the current state of use of the ReLATE document. And afterwards, we can then have a more guided discussion as to the way forward with this document. Land administration systems collect, record, map, and store data on people to land and land to people information and relationship. Then it also works in helping to disseminate such data by putting it into use in a developmental manner. As a process, land administration activities should be done responsibly, in a manner that is ethical, in a manner that is acceptable in legal terms as well as in social terms. And it normally should be done in a way that it can allow for improving the living conditions of people in whatever societies they live in. To do this, specialist knowledge is necessary. Academics and professionals with passion in building land administration knowledge under the auspices of the research and this group has taken the time to conceive this particular document or this particular teaching resource and essential, which we are not just discussing today, but we are launching and which also we would be discussing on the way forward. So I am very, very happy to introduce to you a group of people, most of who are not just friends, but who are my mentors and who are known within the global land community. So I'm happy to call to the front stage my mentors, colleagues, and friends who put together this teaching essentials so that we all can get started with this session. So please, all panelists can come on stage. Thank you. I would like all panelists to come on stage so we can so they can introduce themselves. So the joy of this particular session is that obviously not all of us are able to make it here, but the team is such that even those who are unable to make it also get represented. So with the panelists on stage, I would ask each of the panelists to introduce themselves, and I would like to begin by asking Jaap Zeverbergen to introduce himself.
Good day to everybody, whatever time zone you're in. My name is Jaap Zeverbergen, and I'm Professor of Land Administration Management at ITC, and I have a long history with this resource, but we'll get to that later.
Good. Next, I would like Stig Enemark to introduce himself.
Yeah, I'm Stig Enemark, and most of you will know me as past president of FRG in 2007 to 10. And I'm now Professor Emeritus actually in land management from Aalborg University in Denmark. And so that combination, I guess, fits quite well to what we're going to talk about today. Thank you.
Thank you, Stig. And next, I would like Dimo Todorowski to introduce himself.
Hi, everyone, and good evening from the Netherlands. My name is Dimo Todorowski. I work at Faculty ITC as a coordinator of the Master Specialization Geoinformation Management for Land Administration. And today I have a double role in this panel, so I will represent Commission 2, but also I'm one of the authors of the modules of a ReLATE document, as Eugene is calling it today. So I'll be happy to join forces together with all the panelists.
Thank you, Dimo. And next, I ask Marie Lausma to introduce herself.
Thank you, Eugene. Well, I'm here today representing FIG Commission 8. This is the commission about spatial planning and development, so it relates very much to the teaching essentials that we will discuss today. And in daily life, I'm working for the Dutch Cadastre Land Registry and Mapping Agency in the international department. And yeah, I do have, of course, a background in spatial planning, I would like to say. Otherwise, you cannot be chair of Commission 8 within FIG.
Thanks very much, Marie. Next, I would like actually my own colleague at NOST, Menari Royo Mabakeng, to introduce herself.
All right, thank you very much, Professor Chikwu. My name is Menare. I'm in the Department of Land and Property Sciences at NOST. My background is purely land administration. I think I'm one of the few people that I know that are purely from a land administration background. I currently teach in the Department Land and Property Sciences. I teach policy development, and I also teach land administration theory and practice. So my research is mostly focused around informal settlements. Now we are moving more to a rural focused portion of the research on land markets. And yes, I'm looking forward to a very interesting session, as now I will have a lot of time to make the presentation. Thank you, Chikwu.
Okay, thank you all who are on stage. And to the audience, I just want to tell you, the number of people we have on stage today are very much not what is expected, but like the session is planned, we'll go ahead, but as more people get on stage, we'll give them a chance to introduce themselves. So we'll move on for very much to the very first part of the agenda. So now I will give, we need to hear more about ReLATE and how ReLATE was conceived, how it was developed, why, and all the stories around it. And I'm giving the floor now to Professor Jaap Zevenbergen, who was also at the heart of the conceptualization and development, to give us, a narrative of the journey to ReLATE. You're welcome, Jaap.
Thank you very much, Eugene. Nice to see and hear everybody again. Good morning, afternoon, evening, or night, or maybe when you watch it back later, if you're not with us right now. I'm really delighted that we have this session today. The history of this work goes back at least to 2012. In 2012, or between 2011 and 2015, I was the cluster representative for the Global Land Tools Network's International Advisory Board at that time for the Training and Research Cluster. And in that capacity, I attended the World Urban Forum in Naples in 2012. And based on discussions during that event with the staff from the GLTN Secretariat, and many of them also moved on, but Jean is still with us there and was there at that time. And then based on all that discussion, I went on a mini sabbatical leave to Nairobi late in 2012 at the UN Habitat's GLTN Secretariat. And then during that mini sabbatical, there were 3 or 4 ideas that I discussed with the Secretariat staff, sometimes in official meetings, but also during coffees and lunches. And one of those, between me and Jean, came up. And the idea was to offer some suite of materials for lecturers around the world to help them to include the GLTN principles and GLTN tools into pre-existing education in the land sector. Because what we noticed is often as part of the work in the innovative land sector through GLTN and other activities as well, what we often see is we offer short retraining courses to existing land sector staff. All kind of specific short courses are organized to train somebody on this tool or on that attitude. And that was going on all the time. But at the same time, at least 10 years ago, we felt that most of the freshly trained staff that came straight out of training institutes, universities and colleges, etc., they were really only trained through the conventional approaches. And I think I once called it, and I'm still not sure if this is a good expression in English, but it is the translation of a proverb from the Netherlands. We call this mopping the floor with the tap still running. So we keep training people fully in the conventional way of doing things. And then as soon as they are trained as conventional land sector staff, we start retraining them with some of the innovations that didn't feel very efficient. And so to tackle this, we started to think on how to prepare a set of materials that lecturers could select parts from to include in their own teaching, in their own exercises, lectures, and any part of the course they wanted. We did never intend to make it a full course or make it hardcore e-learning materials. At that time, of course, e-learning was already being discussed, but bandwidth was really still an issue, and in some places still is. But we also wanted to allow personalization, localization, adapting the training, lecture or whatever to what the teacher in charge would feel fits their situation. So we wanted to help them add the innovations, the innovative tools into their teachings without assuming that we could make one set that fits the whole world. And so that was the basic main idea behind it. Then quite soon after these discussions, late in 2012, ITC took on the work as part of a broader project in which we had some other activities as well between us and GLTN. And we started thinking, discussing. I think there was a questionnaire sent out to many people. So what type of topics to include, etc., etc. So it was quite a broad, I would say, passive or one-way consultation and sending out information requests. And I think we managed to get in quite some things, also looking what programs it would fit in, etc., etc. And then in the end, in December 2015, we organized a small expert consultation in Enschede at ITC, and where we kind of finalized what to focus on, which subtopics to include. And I think that's already when we ended on the current list of topics, which are quite broad, certainly the broadest definition of land administration, as Professor Stieg has preached that during his presidency and beyond. And actually, the Teaching Essentials for Responsible Land Administration as a name, I think, was coined during that get-together. But at that time, Jean didn't allow us to use an abbreviation. He didn't want an abbreviated name. Because we were talking about TERLA. We said, this is going to be TERLA, which is nice because it is almost terra, another word for land or ground in, I think, Latin. But Jean said, no, I don't want any abbreviation. So we were kind of back at having the full name, Teaching Essentials for Responsible Land Administration. That was the real beginnings. Then still a lot of work had to be done. There were two other further phases through the cluster work plan, I think, which were led by University College London under Siraj's leadership and RMIT under David's leadership, including a meeting in London late in 2016. I think it was 31st October and 1st of November, hard to remember. I had to look some of this up, as you can imagine. But then, based on that, the real writing was assigned and people started to write. But getting everybody to finish the parts that they were supposed to write, and especially to harmonize in one way or the other, it took quite some time. It wasn't that easy to bring everybody a similar. Some people write short, some write a bit long, and we also said we don't want to write really fresh text. This should be a compilation of existing materials. I also remember that we had a site meeting during the second, still called LPI conference in Addis Ababa in November 2017. And after that, I have to say, I was personally less actively involved. Together with Dimo, we finished more or less on time, I think, around early 2018. Our part, even before that, the final draft. I think there's a few things that is good. In the meantime, the gap that we saw that so many land sector staff were still trained in conventional ways, even there's so much innovation. I think that gap is getting smaller. We see more and more places where local programs are adapted, are more including innovation, etc. So that's good news anyway. This is done autonomously by different universities and different staff members in universities. It sometimes really depends on the person who's doing a course. We also see that it's supported through projects. I think for Africa, the NELGA has been very important. And even the Dutch NAFIC at a smaller scale for some of our curriculum-linked projects has also contributed to that. So we see things are moving. Nevertheless, it's great that the structured knowledge base is now really going to be launched. I think informally it has been accessible for some time on the website. But it's nice that we're going to officially launch it, and also that we have a easy to remember abbreviated name, ReLATE. And I like to relate to the history, but especially let's relate together to the future. I would have somehow liked it all to go faster. It's almost more than 8.5 years now after the idea was conceived. I think we could have done a bit faster, but we're all busy, etc. But remember another proverb, good things take time. Thank you.
Well, thank you, Jaap. That was quite interesting. And with that, I have some news. I think Siraj is finding it difficult getting in, but Siraj is supposed to be the rapporteur, and he's a professor with the University of East London. As he may not be here. Royo Mabakeng, I would call on you to serve as a rapporteur. So we've all heard about what the ReLATE is all about. And I would like to now, of course, Jaap can still stay on stage because Jaap is also an author of the ReLATE modules. But I'd like to give a chance to bring all the ReLATE authors who are on stage, who are around, to come up on stage, and so they can give us their reaction or some few words as to how what they think, what they think about the modules and where they think we should go with it. So on stage we have Professor Stig Enemark.
Thank you. If you're asking me to talk about,
tell us about the module you authored and the objective and where you think how we should conceive it.
Thank you, Eugene. I will start a little bit almost where Jaap ended, where we try to conclude what are we actually doing here, right? So we had this discussion about this. Is it a university course, or is it just a list of the essentials to be taught in this area of responsible, or is it a broader base of knowledge within this field of not only of land administration and more specifically responsible land administration? So we came up with this term, a structured knowledge base. That means the knowledge base is structured in a way so it could actually also act as a university course, but not necessarily. It could also serve as a base of knowledge for all kinds of training activities within this field. So that could be short courses, and it can be continuing professional development, and it can just be a source of looking up knowledge about a specific issue. So that's where we ended up, and I'm actually very happy with that, because we now have a knowledge source in this field of responsible land administration. So we decided we need to find the themes to be covered here, and we ended up with these 6 themes. Of course, the broad one about what is responsible land administration anyway. So there's this introductory theme to the whole subject, and then of course a theme around land tenure, a theme around land use planning, a theme about land administration in practice, a theme about land-based finances, so the whole economic side, and finally a theme about land policies and the land and the regulatory frameworks. So we try to distribute these themes between as best as possible, and I ended up to be responsible for the land policy and regulatory frameworks theme. So we then should discuss. We need a common structure on the way we present these themes, and so we decided that it should be divided into about 6, if you like, lectures, but 6 overall issues within each of the themes, and it should be, if you like, heavily referenced, so that you not only have the text as such or have the information as such in the theme, but you have a lot of references to further knowledge. So and we decided about the if you like, academic level of the text that should be a third year university grade level. Okay, but I think the very important thing is that we ended up with a concept that is actually much broader than, if you like, a university teaching base as such, but much broader for education in general. And I think this actually now is very timely, because when we're moving ahead towards achieving the MTDs and towards providing secure tenure at scale, then this is the issue that has to be known by the land professionals. So it has to go into the this theme has to go into the to the programs of the universities, and the land professionals has to understand what this responsible land administration is actually all about. So I'm quite happy with having this result, and I really hope that we can really promote it, because it just, as it is, it just sits within the DLGN website. But I had the idea that we should turn it into a small book, actually, so we had something to hand out and something to refer to. So when it sits in a in such an e-learning theme with DLGN, it's hard to get really get attention to it. But we can discuss more about that. But that's what I want to say to the beginning. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Stig. I don't know if you all noticed, I left the stage, and that's why I got out. It's technical issues. But I would like to call on the crew to please let Jean Duplessis in. He's been at the backstage for a while. But I would like to move on to Dimo Todorowski to give us his view with respect to the development of the module that he authored.
Thank you, Eugene. And I'm happy to say a few words about the process as well. And that I was involved in the last stages of the finishing of the project that ITC had as a contract with GLTN. So I was presenting the work of my colleagues from ITC together with all the stakeholders in that stage at the workshop that we had in London at Eastern University of East London. And after that stage, in the continuation, there was a stage where we were writing the parts of each module. So this ITC was involved as author of module number 4, and authors of that module are Professor Zevenbergen and myself. So first I would ask Jaap if he wants to say something about that writing process, or I can continue with the content and some of the characteristics of module 4.
No, please go ahead.
Okay. The name of module 4 is Responsible Land Administration and Information in Practice. And all these modules were created as a teaching material which represents 2 EC credits of a university level, and they are all divided in 4 to 5 lessons. And for our work, we first created a skeleton of our module, and our module is consisted of some learning objectives, but also some lessons. So the learning objectives of module number 4 were that upon completion of this module, student could be able to describe how key principles, challenges, and opportunities for responsible land administration and information management are outlined in earlier modules that can be put into practice. Then explain the different levels of land governance, the stakeholders' role that they play in land administration, and finally, participants in this module upon completion can demonstrate application of at least one innovative land information management tool. The lessons that are in the structure of module number 4 are lesson number 4.1, Land Administration Principles, lesson 4.2, Introduction to Public Administration, lesson 3, Introduction to Capacity Development, and lesson 4, Modern Management Practices. Finally, the lesson 5 is integrating all of them into last lesson, which is called Land Information Management Principles and Concepts. It's interesting to say that we were using all the latest literature, books, publications, ISI journals that were on these topics. And within each lesson, there are links to reference that was used for these lessons, but also case studies, videos, YouTube videos, and other, I can say, animated video materials that are helping the people involved in this module to gather more knowledge and to be equipped with appropriate skills. So shortly, that is my overview of module number 4. And I thank Jaap for his contribution and leading this part for module 4.
Good. Thanks very much, Dimo. I think Jean Duplessis came right on time on stage. And I would like Jean, he's also been at the center of this work, and he's one of the authors. And so, Jean, apart from your work in the GLTN, we are at the stage where Jaap has presented the journey so far, how the teaching essentials were conceived and developed. And then we are at the stage where the authors are given few reactions as their experience. So I would like you to introduce yourself and then tell us your role, in the development of the teaching essentials as well as authorship. Thank you. The floor is yours.
Thank you very much. I'm delighted to be here. You can hear me?
Yes, we can.
Oh, fantastic. I've been having internet technical issues for days now. It's a miracle that I'm here with you. Wonderful to see you all. And the good news is that I've heard everything you've said so far, but I was not backstage. Thanks for that. And also listening to Jaap, it's been a long journey. I lost the battle of the acronym. I'm very pleased about that. Well done. We do now have an abbreviation, and I think it's right to have an abbreviation when something exists not before. And it is in place now, not only in English, but also in French. And it is correct that it is currently available via the elearning.gltn.net website. I will talk a bit about where I hope this can go. I would like to see what we planned. What we realized is one cannot create a curriculum. Everyone wanted a curriculum, but a curriculum is very specific when it gets applied in a particular country and it has to be adapted. So we thought we'd rather create the resource that can enable people to build a curriculum and to teach and to train, and also to bring it in the form of a copyright agreement that is flexible where people can take that. And I want to commend all the authors and all the institutions involved in this process for allowing this form of copyright, because we live in an age where copyright people hold on to that, and everyone let go and said, use this. It's a very particular form of Creative Commons copyright where you can use, you can adapt, as long as you acknowledge, as long as you're not making a profit, it's there for everyone to use. And I think that's good. And I don't know, did you go through all the partners that were involved, Eugene? If not, I'd like to read through them. I'll do that.
There'll be time for that because there's the launching part, and you're going to have the time to talk about that.
Okay.
But it would be good to introduce yourself actually, so that the audience, would know who you are, where you're from, where you're working, and And
I'll do that, and then we'll get to the details later. Thank you very much. My name is Jean Duplessis. I've been working in the Secretariat of the Global Land Tool Network in UN Habitat in Nairobi since 2011. My retirement year from that is in 2 years' time. It's been a long journey. It's been a privileged journey to be involved in this network of now more than 80 institutions working on trying to get people secure land rights globally. And I've been, I think, for my sins, the lead person interacting with the cluster that Jaap spoke about, the cluster of international research and training institutions ever since 2011, and it's been great. And my role has been one of support. I'm a well-informed generalist. I'm not a specialist or an academic, and of facilitation of these processes. And I'm very proud, actually, about what has been achieved. Later on, we'll hear which partners were involved. Thank you, Eugene. I hope that was not too long an introduction.
That's fine. I'm happy to hear all that. And so actually that moves us to the next agenda. And the next agenda is the launching of the ReLATE. At this point, Professor Jaap Zevenbergen and Professor Enemark maybe can go off stage. And we need Maria Lusma back on stage. If Daniel Pez is around, we need him on stage. Otherwise, we'll move on. So we need Jean Duplessis of GLTN, we need Dimo Todorowski of Commission 2, Daniel Pez of Commission 7, and Maria Lusma of Commission 8. And it appears Daniel Pez is not here. So, but Maria is around. Can someone bring Maria on stage? Good.
I am already here.
The ReLATE document. Good. Thank you, Maria. And for your patience, by the way, for waiting a long time, backstage. So this is actually the moment, the launching of the ReLATE Structured Knowledge Base. What I have to say is that the document is already online, and but still we are launching it because we haven't officially introduced it to the surveying community and maybe others who should know about it. But the the three players who are on stage, I would give Jean Duplessis now the moment to talk about the ReLATE documents, what we expect from it, the direction the GLTN is taking it, and the cluster, and whatever he has about it and why we should use it. Thank you.
Thank you, and I'm sorry I jumped the gun a bit on the process. Well, to add to what I said, the remarkable thing for me here has been the number of people involved and the momentum that gave, and creating a common asset that can be used. We'll talk about its limitations just now. Stig touched on some of those, but I do want, and if I leave anyone out, I apologize, but I do really want to recognize RMIT was involved, University of East London, which has been mentioned, University of Florida, University of West Indies, University of Twente, Aalborg University, RD University, Technical University of Munich, then NALGA, the Network of Excellence on Land Governance in Africa, and of course UN Habitat. And now with NUST also joining the network, and Eugene being based there, I think they should be mentioned as well. The result of that process that I was talking about is a static document, but it is flexible in the sense that anyone can copy it from the website, can use it, can take pieces of it for their lectures. If their curriculum can't change, they can change it from within or influence from in by taking materials, as long as there's an acknowledgement of the source, and also as long as it's a non-for-profit use. The idea would be that that in the end, hopefully, curricula that are being taught in universities could be positively influenced by this. This is not my area of expertise. I'm not sure how universities work, but the hope is that one would get the resonance. I also want to acknowledge GIZ, who with NALGA prompted us last year to commission translation, and the teaching essentials are now online as well in French, which is great. That's all the good news. The difficulty, I think, with this, and what's important as we launch it to think about, is this tightrope one walks between it being static and available and easily downloadable, and it being flexible and usable and adaptable. And we've already heard from Stig, and I think we should take him seriously. He thinks there should be a book. Then there are those who think there has to be some kind of much more flexible e-learning device. And in between that is what we've got at the moment. I think those debates should continue. But for the moment, and also one more thing I wanted to say is that there's big emphasis on the site as well for people to make comments, to develop case studies, to make this thing grow, to criticize and add and recommend amended text so that it's a live document and not a static one, so that it can grow. I hope the community that will form around this, and also the surveying community, can add more modules to this, amend what is already there, and advise us on ways to use. I'm an e-learning skeptic in the sense of when things are digital, they try to be very cute, but often it's very difficult to represent the issue. So that's the one end of it. And then having a paper book has its own advantages. As Stig says, you can hand it to someone, they can take it on the plane, they can read it, but it has its own limitations as well. Somewhere in the middle, there has to be creative uses that we could use and build on. Thank you very much, everyone, for working with us on this. I think it has been a tremendous team effort, and there should constantly be acknowledgement given to everyone who's played a role. Thank you, Eugene.
Yeah, thanks very much, and I'm very happy that you've been able to cover quite a lot. So I would like to move on next to Maria Lausma, who's the chair of FIG Commission 8. As part of the launching, I would like Maria to take the stage and give us her impression of the ReLATE teaching structured knowledge base.
Yes, thank you so much, Eugene, of being part here. And well, it's the FIG working week, so and I think I can say we are very pleased that you have chosen this working week to launch the Responsible Land Administration Teaching Essentials, because I think they're very valuable to have them, and especially because it's open material, like you have explained, or Jean has just explained. I think it's very valuable to give everyone access to the knowledge and to the experiences out there, so that the institutions can build their curricula and also educate professionals, because we need them, I would say, in the land administration profession in a broad sense, but also, of course, in spatial planning and other more applied fields that use land administration. And you need to grasp the essentials to be able to have a responsible and sustainable implementation of spatial planning, but also of land administration developments. So in that sense, I think the materials really contribute to capacity building and building curricula. And I think FIG is about having information and knowledge exchange between academia and professionals, and involving the business as well. And I think responding to Jean and the comment that it's somehow a little bit static, I would say that it's, we can use the FIG platform as well to contribute and look for case studies, and using where the teaching essentials have been used and how they have been used and integrated in the curricula, but also look for applied cases where the knowledge is used. So, I think that's also where the FIG comes into being a platform of having this kind of working weeks where we all the three sectors, the academia and the professionals and the business, come together. And I think together we are responsible to further build our profession. So in that sense, I'm very happy now with the launch of the teaching essentials, and I think they're very worthwhile and fruitful for us and for the sector and the field of land administration and spatial planning as well. I have the hat on of Commission 8, of course, but I also try to replace a little bit Commission 7.
Well, thanks very much, Maria. We have someone on stage, Siraj said. I'll give him a chance to introduce himself later on after Dimo has spoken. And so, but you're welcome, Siraj, and we are happy. It's been a roller coaster journey getting into this platform, but we are happy to see you here finally. But before Siraj will introduce himself, I think, Dimo, could you give us your perspective as part of the launching on the ReLATE teaching structured knowledge base?
Well, I'm changing hats now, so now I will talk on behalf of Commission 2 of FIG, yes, which is about professional education. And I will speak in name of the chair, David Mitchell, who was also part of this process, and also on behalf of Commission 2, Professional Education of FIG. If I read carefully, the mission of Commission 2 is that Commission 2 is focusing on innovative and effective professional education and training for surveyors. And the Commission is focusing on developing academic networks for knowledge sharing, innovative learning and teaching, or curriculum on the move, and learning styles in education, surveying education. So translating this definition of Commission 2, I can say that this project for creating an online platform for responsible land administration teaching essentials is in alignment with the mission of the professional education of FIG as well. We were working together with several professionals and several academicians to create this one. So this was a network of academics, and we were making it as much as possible to be used to as many as possible stakeholders that are willing to learn and that need this kind of education. As it was previously mentioned, it can be served as part of curriculum, but it can also be served as a short course material. And I'm happy to say that this is what our profession needs. So I encourage everybody who is listening in the audience to check the website of the e-platform of GLTN, to have access on this, to have a look, and I'm confident that they will be happy with what is provided over there. We are using these materials also for students that are interested in this. So I will be looking forward in the future with number of stakeholders that are registered as users of this, and I would be happy to report this in the future term of my Commission 2. Hopefully, I will be voted as chair of Commission 2 on Friday. And I'll be happy, as I said, to continue reporting on this and advocating that this way forward is a good way forward, and I support all people in audience to have a look at it. Thank you very much, Eugene.
Yeah, thanks very much, Dimo. I have to say I'm a member of FIG Commission 2. I'm a member of FIG Commission 8, and it's been a pleasure working with all of you to talk about the educational part and then go into the planning and special planning and management aspect. So it's good to have you all here. But now I would give the floor to my own co-chair in the Research and Training Cluster of Global Land 2 Network, as well as a professor in University of East London. Siraj Seth, please introduce yourself. And after introducing yourself, give us some keywords. He's also an author of one of the modules. So give us your perspective of the responsible land administration structured knowledge base. Unfortunately, you have to keep it short. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Eugene, can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
I mean, given some of the technical problems I'm having, I don't trust the mic either. But it's really a privilege and really a pleasure to be in the midst of colleagues who have been working on this particular project for quite some period of time. RMIT and UEL started this whole project, but in fact, YAP and many others had initiated this process. So this is a long-running process. I'm just reminded that I should introduce myself. So I'm from the University of East London. I'm a professor of law and development, and therefore, in that capacity, I also contributed to the core module and the land finance module in the curriculum. But more broadly, along with Eugene, I'm the co-chair of the GLTN cluster, work very closely with Jean and many of you. And I also wear a few other hats. One of them happens to be then the co-chair of the SAGE, that's the UN Habitat Stakeholder Advisory Group enterprise. And this work that we do is highlighted not just within GLTN partners, and I'm really grateful for FIG to pay attention and encourage on this, but much more broad audience. I think Jean has mentioned how it's been translated, but keeping it short, I'd like to say that both NELGA North Africa, as well as the Arab Land Initiatives, and several others have been able to pick up some of the work that we have started and take it forward. And really, as you have known by your own involvement, or as you have watched, this is not just about content. This is about essentials, and those essentials are equally but principles, approaches, impact, and case studies. So, which is why I really am grateful to Jean that among the various things that he does, he's paid particular attention to see that we continue to nourish this particular process by making it bigger. And that is the endeavor of our meeting today, to look a bit closely with new partners, new ideas. And this is just one of the many activities and studies that we are carrying out. So thank you so much for your help. And this is indeed a great opportunity. Thank you, FIG. Thank you, Eugene, and everybody for your help and support and camaraderie in this interesting ongoing project. Thank you.
Well, thanks very much, Siraj. I think you all have heard it. We can move on to the key issue in this. What we're going to tackle in this particular session is actually deciding. One of it will be an open discussion on the way forward. Now we have the documents. Some people are using it here at NOS. We're already using it. When I was at TUM, we were using it. I believe ITC is using it, and several others. But we need to understand the state of affairs of this usage in order to actually talk about where we take it to. And on that basis, I would ask the crew to take every other person off the stage and introduce Menare Royo Mabakeng, who would give us a presentation on the current state of the usage, and afterwards we can take up questions and begin the discussions. Thank you, and Royo, you're welcome.
All right, thank you so much, Eugene. So what I'm going to do today, good evening, everyone, good afternoon or good morning from wherever you're joining us. My role here today would just to be to present the status of the use of the responsible essential, sorry, my apologies, the structured knowledge base and teaching essentials on responsible land administration. We did a quick study where we analyzed using the GLTN dashboard to see how many people are actually using the platform and how the resources and from which countries they are and what interests they have across the board. So what I'm going to do, I'll have a short presentation. So just give me a second in loading that up. Just confirm if you can see it. I have one screen. Perfect. So what I'm going to do, when I prepared the presentation, I didn't have a clear, sort of understanding with what is Yap going to speak about, what is Siraj going to speak about, or Stig and Mark as well. So most of the things that are in the presentation, at least from the beginning, have already been spoken about, but I just want you to bear with me and—
Sorry to interrupt, can you put it on presentation mode?
Yes, I will be getting there. I will be getting there. Thank you. Yeah, so most of the things that I'm going to be presenting about will have already been spoken about, but I would just want to do a rehash for anyone that might have joined now. So we did a short paper about 3 months ago on the structured knowledge base and teaching essentials on responsible land administration, where we carried out an assessment on users and the different users. As was already mentioned, it is important for us to have a structured knowledge base because emerging land issues always require new ways of understanding. In any form of learning that is capable of supporting this new change, require some sort of measurement or require some form of management. In 2009, Stig said at a conference that there should be a focus on learning to learn, and there's a need for a flexible curriculum to deal with this constant change. And the move towards introducing a virtual academy is also important, and there is a demand for creating a quality culture and the perspective of lifelong learning. So when we are looking at the structured knowledge base, it's not only for current students that are enrolling within to understand what is currently happening with regards to land administration, or for academics to create curriculum, but it's also for people that have already been or that have already been educated within the sector that have to come back and also refresh. So the aspect of lifelong learning is very important. So upon doing some literature review, as many of you might be well aware, I would say I'm one of the youngest people within the panel. I'm also one of the latecomers and also have been a beneficiary of some of the content within my studies. What we do know as surveyors here at the conference is that there is this move where the focus is changing from measurement to management. Because of that change, there is a need to have some sort of essential teaching material on responsible land administration. And the need for these tools is also emerging due to the advancement in technology, which has been a major driving force. So when I was preparing for this presentation, I came across, I was going through WhatsApp messages and I saw one of my ex-classmates from my undergraduate studies just in 2014. He posted this here, and then one of the comments was that, oh my God, there's so much work to do. So what you see here is a list of like a pile of papers, and then he's having a phone or a tablet next to it. And I asked, what is this? And what he said is that they are busy digitizing the Namibian old valuation cards and moving them to a digital platform. So the advancement in technology and also the need for quick access to land-related information also pushes us to have updated knowledge on what is currently happening in the sector. And then the 2030 global agenda also provides for a range of goals and targets that can never be achieved without having good land governance. And so this is where the structured knowledge base on land administration becomes important, not only for academics, but then also for people, like I said, professionals that are already working within the sector who need a refresher in knowledge. So in order for us to achieve any sustainable development, there's a need for a functioning countrywide land administration. And from my perspective, and having gone through the platform, I see that the teaching material will provide us with that information that we can apply within our teaching, but then also within our practice. So it's not only, I would say the material shouldn't only be restricted for students. So if there is a surveyor who for some reason, for some years has not had a clear understanding on what are the current developments within the sector, you can always make time and go onto the platform and familiarize yourself with some of the content that has been created by seasoned professionals and some of the pioneers within the land administration sector. So here, what we have is just a brief look at the platform. It's an online modular components on the structured knowledge base on teaching essentials. It was already presented, there are about 6 modules. These ones have been created. I'll just quickly hash again who are the authors for anybody that might have joined now to just be familiarized with it. So you have those 6 modules, as was mentioned by John du Plessis and Dimo, on core values, land tenure security, participatory land use planning, land-based finance, etc. And you can find it here at www.elearning.glt.net. You need to create a user account in order for you to access the material. It's freely available. You don't have to pay anything for it. And as it was already mentioned, these are the different authors that have worked very hard. So the content that is available has been peer reviewed and is the most updated information that is there on the structured knowledge base on responsible land administration. So as John du Plessis also mentioned, this content is not written in stone. So anyone that has time and is interested can go into the platform, look at the material, review it, critique it, provide suggestions for improvement, test it out and see if it does apply. And the beautiful thing that I liked about this, the platform, is that it gives you an opportunity as an educator to also adapt it to your teaching. When you are doing assignments with your students, you can find ways to format them according to the local context. So it doesn't really it doesn't limit you. It sort of gives you that gives you an opportunity to expand more on what you have, and also saves you time. Having worked with the Department of Land and Property Sciences here at NAST, going through curriculum development is quite a strenuous process, I would say. So what this material provides, it provides that peer-reviewed material that you can use and adapt as an educator. And the Global Land Tool e-learning platform also has other courses. We have the land-based finance, the gender evaluation criteria, the STD, and also the tenure responsive land use planning material. Plus this new one, which is the NELGA Francophone course that has been translated in French. I will just provide a summary on that at the end. And I know John du Plessis did make a mention of it, or speak about it later on. Okay, so how does the platform look like? So this is what you have when you log onto the platform. After having created a user account, you will find this different material, and then you see here, that's where you have the teaching essentials for responsible land administration. And then you have the different courses that I mentioned in the previous slide clearly presented there. So as Dimo also said, he mentioned a bit about the duration and hours. What we see is the level of duration is that you have about 50 hours of study. It's about, you have the lessons, it's in a sort of, each comprises approximately 3 hours of classroom teaching. There's approximately 7 hours of teacher-directed self-study. So it means that as anybody who's interested in the course and you enroll, this is what you would expect. And I would say that would be adequate for you to gain an understanding, enough knowledge as well on what is currently happening within the land administration sector. All right, so I'm going to go next into what everyone is waiting for. So is this being used? Is it being applied? As much as we are launching now, let me just quickly make sure something. As much as we are launching now, we are also as you also know, and I know Yap mentioned this earlier on, this has already been available, and it has been available online already. And this is just the official launch of the material. So I know everyone is interested. You want to know, so who's using this material? All right. So what we did using the Global Land Tool Networks dashboard, we did a quick analysis, and this analysis is from as late as February, when we had to submit the paper for the FIG conference. So just to mention, if you want to read more about it or get a better understanding, you can get our paper here on the FIG platform as well. So what we noticed from the quick analysis in terms of use and enrollment, we saw that the majority of users of the platform are from Kenya, where we had about 29 individuals that signed onto it. And then we also have representatives or individuals that are interested and have signed onto the platform from the United States. They come in second at 15. And then we have South Africa and Tanzania both having a balance of 14, and with Nigeria coming in third. I'm announcing this as if it's a competition. Apologies if it does sound like that. And then we also have Morocco, Namibia, Congo, Zambia, Canada coming in as well, with having individuals logged onto the platform. So as I already mentioned previously, the Global Land Tool e-learning platform does also have other courses. We did an additional analysis to see, compared to the other courses that are available, how many have signed on to the Teaching Essentials. So what we see is that the Teaching Essentials do have the highest number of enrollments, but not as high as we would expect, because if we are looking at the highest being 29 from Kenya, I think as a sector we can do more, especially looking at the current challenges that many countries are facing with implementing efficient and effective land administration. So what you do see that you have the highest enrollments on Teaching Essentials, and then when you look at the average time that students are spending on the different material, you will see that with the NELGA, Francophone main courses, you have an average time of 51 minutes. And then the 10-year responsive land use planning, you have that 2 minutes and 23 seconds. What we also see, and which is also an important question to ask, is what type of devices are the different users using? Are they logging in from a desktop? Are they logging in from mobile phones or from tablets, etc.? I know this is important to ask because I know currently for us, having moved to an online teaching environment, you would want, for example, to share specific material or to have enough a biggest, I don't know, platform or screen as well for focusing and attention. So we went further and did an analysis to find out, using the GLT and dashboard, to see how many people or what type of devices are currently being used. So what we noticed from the analysis is that you have the majority using the desktop, and then we have mobile phones, and then also the mobile devices, which can be the tablets as well. So the next question that we had, or the analysis that we did on the platform, was to see who could be the potential users, because when we did the initial analysis here, was to see the number of people that are currently enrolled. So there was also a question using the type from online analysis to see who could use this platform, and from which institutions are they coming from, right? So what we did, or what we noticed from the feedback, is the majority of potential users, and which is quite also a foreseen thing, was that it would be the university and research institution. There was quite a high interest there, with the lower interest coming from the private organizations. Okay. But then it means that we can do more. This is the official launch, and there are a lot of private organizations here at the FIG conference. So we'll see probably, maybe not tomorrow, maybe next month, when that the numbers might go up in terms of enrollment. All right. So in terms of the interest from the potential users, what we did notice after asking a set of questions, which module would you be interested in when you log on to the GLT and e-learning platform, we saw that the majority, the highest, said that they will be interested in logging or enrolling for all of them. And some had a few combinations. I know the structure is a bit not that clear. I had to redesign this so that it's a bit clear to project, because the one from the dashboard was a bit fainted. And we saw that in terms of interest, we had the respondents say 2 for responsible land administration, but then as well that can also apply to all the above. So just to get into the last section of my presentation, is just to go into the emerging issues, which were also mentioned by all the authors, most of the authors, and also the contributors to these to the SKB. What we do see as emerging issues going forward from the study is that as a cluster, we need to contact the different stakeholders that are identified in the study in order to engage with them on how they can adopt the structured knowledge base. This is saying, are you going to have students directly come onto the platform and use it, or will you take some of the material and adopt it within your teaching, or just to have that conversation in order for us to see how the structured knowledge base could better be used. And then there's also an important element of engaging stakeholders to understand what is the role or support that GLTN can provide or play to ensure that they use the SKB teaching essentials in their capacity development or educational efforts. So it's not something that would be pushed on to stakeholders, but it can be a conversation as well in terms of what the role the global Line2 network can play. There is also a need to devise a means for monitoring the engagement of the stakeholders in adapting the teaching essentials, which sort of also just links to the previous comment. So in summary, there is a requirement for setting land administration lessons and class activities in a meaningful context. Again, re-emphasizing that the structured knowledge base is not it's not to just be applied or used the way it is. Lecturers or educators who are going to adopt it can always adapt it to their meaningful context where they are. The teaching essentials use always remains a challenge, and I put this idiom here that you can lead a horse to water, but you can't make it drink, just to sort of bring that message through. So what we have seen that we have enrollments onto the platform, but we don't have a representation on the completion of the different courses. They enroll, you spend time there, but then there's not really any indication if the students or whoever has enrolled did complete. All right, I'm quickly going to wrap up. So what we do see as well is that the success that we have seen is that the structured knowledge base has been translated in French, and then from the previous presentation or discussion, you did see that it's a major outcome, and there are some users as well on the platform. And there is also a proposed launch, which will be good for us as well as members of the networks, the Network of Excellence on Land Governance. There's going to be a launch across the different networks on the African continent in collaboration with the different institutions and the Global Land Tool Network and GIZ as well. So thank you all for your attention. Please check the platform out, complete one module, complete all of them if you can, share it within your different organizations. If you want to read more and understand the interpretation of the data, you can find the paper online. And yes, you can always contact the authors as well if you want to speak more or get more information about anything. All right, thank you all for your attention, and I'm looking forward to any interesting discussions or comments or any additions. Thank you. Am I the only one here? Okay, thank you.
I've just joined you. So thanks very much, Royo. That was quite a very detailed. Back again. Thanks very much, Royo. And that was quite a very interesting and very detailed presentation of the results of the, the basic survey that has been done on this learning essential. I would, while you've been giving this presentation, I've taken my time to go through the comments, and there are some quite interesting issues in the comment section. I would like the crew to actually give us the result of a poll that they've held within this period, that's the period of the session. And after that, we can move into the discussions and the questions and answers. Crew? Thank you.
Okay. So I saw a poll directed to, do you believe that learning takes place best when we are connected as social beings? And 89% say yes, and maybe 10% of 28 votes. And so there is no one that said no. And then there was another question: how likely are you willing to use a social networking sites in higher education studies teaching? And there was 25% said least likely, likely said 41%, and most likely 33%. Again, about 24 votes. And
thanks very much.
The last one, the most preferred mode of social networking sites. You have there some options. Facebook 33%, WhatsApp 25%, and LinkedIn 41.7%. And again, 24 votes. So no Wiki, no Twitter, no Viber.
Okay, so thanks very much. Thanks very much, Marinos. I would. What have we seen from those polls? It just indicates that the social networking as a tool or means of learning, is very much appreciated at this point. It also tells us sort of the number of people we have at the moment watching and participating in this session. So far, we have about 31 votes from the data I'm looking at here. So, but this now leads us to the questions. I would encourage the crew to bring everyone now on stage so we can now have a more guided discussion on the issues. And when everybody is on stage, I would read out the questions that I've been able to pick from the audience. There are two critical questions. What is interesting in this whole, in the interaction is that the audience have been posing questions and some of you were already answering the questions. So that helps us with time because we are most likely going to have about 10 minutes to do what we had reserved previously for 20. But interestingly, the two key questions that I've picked out from the audience is one that says, how do you disseminate this innovative and pioneering work and convince others to use them and further improve the material? So I would say this is not only about answering this question, but this actually hits at the core of what our discussion is about, which is going forward. So I would rather we reserve that question for the for the main discussion. But there is one more question you have to hear before we go on. The other question is, how do you motivate and activate students or learners in participating in blended learning classes? How do you motivate students and learners to participate in blended learning classes? And I don't know if there's anybody in the audience that would like to tackle this question.
I'm happy to do it.
Stig, please. Go on, Stig.
Okay. Now, I think there's no doubt that blended learning is the way it's going to be, right? So, so just traditional classroom teaching and then you prepare at home and you sit for the next class is not sustainable. So there's so much knowledge sources out there that the issue is to create the subjects for the students to investigate and develop the insight. Or so it's about following this learning to learn paradigm, if you like. And learning to learn will include this kind of blended learning. So if you make the students prepare on issues that are presented and then use the teaching for discussing that learning rather than doing the direct teaching, will enable that ability for the students to learn. And there's a key reason for that is that often when you leave university after 5 years, a lot of the knowledge that are taught may not be relevant anymore. So you must be able to deal with, if you like, the unknown problems of the future. So that is about learning how to learn and how to be able to develop the necessary knowledge for dealing with the actual problems. So this combination of problem-based learning and learning to learn is what blended learning is all about.
Thanks very much, Stig. I'm still willing to give one more person in the panel a chance if they have a complementary or different view to provide in regards to this question. And that's the question on how do you motivate and activate students to participate in blended learning classes? And please, in the context of learner administration. Does anybody think they can add something to what Stig has said already? Good. Oh, Dimo, keep it short. You're welcome.
Yes, the question goes more regarding classical teaching and practicals that are usually done within the land surveying domain, I guess. And for the classical teaching, I would suggest put more group teamwork or group assignments, but also you can also switch the classroom. So those are the methodologies that can use in active learning, and also to motivate students and to always ask a question and motivate them to participate in the class with their examples, with their things. And I think that those things are successfully used, at least in our faculty of ITC, University of Twente.
Okay, thanks very much, Dimo. And there are other questions I've seen here, but what is also interesting is that the questions have been answered right on the charts. And so, but we have 10 minutes to move into the main issue where we conclude. And afterwards, we'll move into the AMA, Ask Me Anything session, and the link is already in the chat where we can have further discussion going forward. But at the moment, the next question that is presented here is at the core of the next program, which is the way going forward. And the question is how to further disseminate the innovative and pioneering work and convince others to use it. So I would like the panel to tackle this issue in the context of what is the way forward? What can we do with what we have now? And I would want Siraj to, I'll give Siraj the chance now to, moderate this particular session. And I ask all panelists to please keep their, their statements and comments very short while we take notes of what we leave from here. Thank you, Siraj.
Yeah, thank you, Eugene. So I guess today is the official launch, but we've had a pre-launch. And I think many of our partners have used this. So Royal's presentation was quite comprehensive. And I think you talked about thinking about what are the new developments, opportunities, and partners, and the way we deliver this, and also listening to very useful comments that we made by Jaap, Jean, Stieg, Dimo, and of course, Marie. Just, for example, about the textbook or about the size or the delivery. So I'd like to just open up and request inputs and advice on how we can take this forward at various levels, both in terms of our practice partners, academic partners, and others involved. Who would like to start, please, on the panel?
Can we have Jean Duplessis? Oh, he's there.
Okay. Yes. Shall I just give a very short comment? It's touching upon Stieg's comment, like that we should look for learning how to learn. But I think we can also complement it to the lifelong learning cycle, that also professionals need education. And I think that could also be an essential target group for ReLATE and the e-learning platform, because they have to do it next to their regular job. And that will be also a good audience instead of just the regular students enrolling in a full program. So that could be an extra target audience for the materials available.
Excellent point. Helps us focus more on how this package be used by a variety of constituencies at various levels. Thank you very much. Royal, please go ahead.
Okay, mine is sort of more long term. I know from people within Namibia, they would want to study, especially the professionals and some of my old classmates that are now working for local authorities and government. They want to do a course where they can get credits. So when they go back to their job, not only do they have, the knowledge with regards to what is currently happening within land administration, but then they can also use this as something where they can get an increment or improvement within their jobs. If it's a promotion. So I think that part, in terms of getting it accredited on a country level, I think would also be one way to encourage more people to join and sign up.
Can I hand over to Jean, because we've been talking about this, Jean. Go ahead.
It's very interesting, again, hearing those two ends of the spectrum. The one is the one of the accreditation, and this is why it's so wonderful to have all these universities on board. It's wonderful to have NELGA in existence, where there are institutions that can make this official. At the other end, I think what Stieg is teaching us is the issues that are being addressed in these very boring pages that you can download as PDFs. It's not even a course you can go through. You can just read it, are just outside your room, on the road that you come to the university or go back to your room or go to the shop. The issues are alive in every city, town, and countryside that we know. And I think what's important is to get people to recognize the real issues that are out there and then relate them to the proposed solutions that's in the curriculum. So make it alive, and then it can be knowledge that one can take further. As Stieg says, the answers, I mean, anyone who says they've got the answers is wrong. The answer has to lie in processes that get established and some level of excitement initiated. And these are not exciting documents, let's be clear. They have to be made exciting through exciting teaching. And I think I'm just repeating in a way what people have said, but I'm proposing that we work on both those ends, that you can have something that's official, a certificate that's accredited, based on you also being the expert, you the learner, knowing these things that happens in your home, it happens in your community, and making that link. And I think that is how one develops momentum for the way forward. I hope that's useful. Thank you.
Thanks, John. Over to Jaap. But before I do that, could I just request people to use the link and put your questions if you have, so that we can be aware of it and respond to it and have a good discussion. Jaap, over to you, please.
I had to build on what Jean is saying, also making it more exciting. There's a big push in University of Twente networks that the University of Twente is part of for challenge-based learning. And I think when we were preparing at some point, I don't remember, maybe early on or later in the process, we were also discussing to put some draft exercises in the material, but also in the sense of letting the teacher that would use our knowledge base to define some project in the close vicinity. Because as Jean said, anywhere in the world, next to my house, they're currently redoing the land use plan. So you can already immediately let people play with some of the data, let them look at the participatory process, etc., etc. So a lot of the things are always on your doorstep, even it doesn't matter where in the world you are. So challenge-based learning approaches would really facilitate that. Maybe I'm getting old. The grayness is suggesting that. But I still believe, and I don't know if Royal remembers that from when I was lecturing, but in some of the lectures, when I'm, for instance, talking about the problems of government agencies not cooperating, letting the citizens carry information from one to the other, or issues that come close to corruption, I'm talking as generic as I can. And you can see in the eyes of the students in the audience that each of them is thinking of a concrete example from his or her own country. And I think, I'm not sure how we can create experiences like that when you're just reading, because reading is, it's tackling other parts of your brain. So I think we still need to somehow, and I think hybrid was already mentioned, or blended, as Steve called it. We need a little bit of all, but I think we should not, and I think that's how I started an hour or some minutes ago, we should not try to make this the ultimate source. This is a source where different stakeholders can pick and make something that is localized for the situation that they need it for. And I think if we try to do too much, we will overshoot.
Thank you, Jaap. Eugene, how are you doing on time?
No, very badly. So I actually just left you a message, but don't forget that it's only doing badly on time in this particular link. So what I'm trying to do now is that I give you a wrap up of what we've done. Then we move to the next link, the AMA link, where we can continue with less pressure. Is that okay? And the link is both, you find the link in the private chats and also in the public comment chat. So please, the audience should watch out for the link, the AMA link. That's where we are going to move now. But so far, it's been a great pleasure talking to all of you. And initially, I was very nervous because all of you right in front of me are people, that I respect so much, and I found it difficult, thinking that I would come and actually share a session where Stig, Jaap, Siraj, Sean, and all, are up here. But it's been great. What have we talked about so far, which we can continue later on? We tend to have gotten the impression that to take this forward, we need to look at the issue of lifelong learning circle for professionals in land administration, converting this into a lifelong learning material for professionals in land administration. But at the same time, and that's from Marie, and then Royo came with the idea of professional CBD material which should be endorsed by an accreditable body. And the question that is missing at the moment is, what is the mode? Are we still talking about a mode where we have a book to deal with this, approaches, or simply blended or refreshing what we already done to simply suit in? And that's what we are going to continue in the AMA link as we move out of this link. But as we move out, I want to thank you, Stig. I want to thank you, Yap. I want to thank you, Jean. I want to thank you, Dimo, Siraj, Marie, Menari. I would like to thank David Mitchell, who is not here, Asad Mohammed. I can go on and on and on. Agnes Masumbi. These are the people who played critical roles, in the conceptualization and development of this learning material. And I'm happy that we've had a good time, and we can continue that time in the next link. So to the audience, please, thank you for listening to us and for your comments. And we expect you to join us in the AMA link, and so we can continue the discussion. On that basis, I call this session to an end. Thank you all.
Thank you, Eugene. Thank you, everybody.
Please click on the next link.
Thanks so much.
Get off here and go to the next link, and then we can